being in the land of the living is something to be celebrated every day.
No kidding.
And for us to remember their memory allows them to be in our land with us and allows their memory to live on. And their choices are their choices. And I've had people in my life who've made those choices. And sometimes they don't understand their wake behind because they're in pain of their own.
Hey, I'm Joe Fier, and welcome to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. This is where we talk all about building businesses so they give you the freedom and fuel for your life. I'm not here to help you build a billion-dollar business, but I am here to help you create a business with systems that work for you so you can make more money than you need just by working part-time. You know, I was a chronic hustle mode kind of guy, and I want to share my experiences and mentors I've met along the way to help you reframe things to be the most effective as an entrepreneur. I wish I had this guidance and insight when I was younger, so that's what I'm doing here for you. Please share and enjoy. Ooh, this episode is going to be a fun one. I hope you enjoy it as much as me. This is with Lee Richter, and she is someone who I've wanted on this podcast for a long time now, and I've heard her name mentioned by countless. Literally, like the most mentioned name is Lee Richter, and everyone seems to know her. And after this podcast wrapped up, we realized, oh yeah, we have a ton of friends in common. A lot of these guests that I've had on the podcast, she's really good friends with, either is partnered with them, mentors with them, has a mastermind with them, something. She is doing a lot, and she is this interesting blend of technology and where it meets humanity. She's on the forefront of Web3, blockchain, metaverse, AI, and working with big brands and organizations, groups, people that you know, and she'll talk about them on this episode. She is this glue for visionaries and these big businesses and other folks to make things happen. She's like years ahead of most of us, and it's fascinating. Her brain works quickly. She's all about bringing humanity, and like it's not all about technology and business, but it's actually happiness as well. So she's this very interesting and unique blend that you're going to enjoy. Just a little bit about her. I mean, I could go on all day, so I'll try to keep this short. Is that she's a business leader who runs 9 different companies, maybe even more by the time this episode goes live. She invests in 36 plus successful businesses that generate over $100 million in revenue. She's dedicated herself to not only coach, but like I said, be the glue and bring people together, entrepreneurs, and show them the importance of NFTs and tokens and how they can be used. And now with AI and everything that's happening there, and how to expand businesses, how to achieve success and create a bigger impact and legacy. She talks about how she's doing this even with her daughter. So she offers courses on this, and you should go check them out and all the different ways that you can kind of get involved in her world over at goasklee.com. That's goasklee with 2 E's.com. And she's incredible. She's won so many different awards for being business leader and just knows the who's who. So she is the way that she connects with people and makes things happen at a massive scale. She's the one. So enjoy this conversation. She said it was kind of like jazz, which is the way that she likes chat and have a conversation. We kind of go all over the place, unscripted. We had a few points that we wanted to hit, but I think you'll get it. This is a unique conversation, and you should get a lot from it as well. So remember, this is like that blend of technology and what you can do with all the wild tech that's coming out and where that meets humanity in the human side of everything, because we can't lose that. That's how we keep this glue together. I hope you get a lot from this one. Can't wait for you to hear it, and it's about to start now. All righty, Lee, we're finally hitting record because we're already on a good tangent, and I already have good feels for this podcast, this episode. So I appreciate you for taking the time to be here with us.
I am so happy to be here with you right now. I feel like I am blessed to be in this time, in this space. And you and I get to share some ideas and banter, and we'll probably come up with $1 million company or more after this. So
I like that. Yeah.
I see some collaboration in our future.
And well, you're the master at that, by the way. I got to give you credit because your name, I mean, thank God we finally made this happen. I know we rescheduled a couple times, but for years, I've heard your name, Lee Richter, and never met you formally here. We probably passed each other at some of these events. Flight Club is one of them I've been at. I know you're an attendee, and there's all these fun masterminds. But the fact that I think it was Amber Spears was the latest one. So I was like, got to give her a shout out. She loves you.
She is one of my favorite people on the planet. And I'm going to tell you that I don't know too many people that can do what Amber Spears can do. She can make everybody feel important and like the center of her universe. She is so gifted because she actually really, there is no one more important to her than the person in front of her, but you really
100%.
feel it.
Yep.
And that's one of the biggest distinctions between real life and online is how do you have that feeling? And you hit the nail on the head when you bring someone like Amber Spears in the conversation where you can't duplicate that.
No.
It's only in person. I mean, of course she could be in Zoom and do that, but in person it's multiplied at a higher level. So I'm so glad you brought her into the conversation because it ramps me up. It gets me excited to think about it being in her energy.
She opened her heart big time on this podcast. It was maybe a month or so ago, and her and I connected in a lot of ways. Mental health was a big piece of it, and losses we both had, but then how we're learning from that.
You know what I love about her, and if I can elaborate on this for
Please.
1 second, and if anyone could get anything out of today, what I loved so much about Amber Spears, not only that she broke her heart open and shared really, really personal things, and she's so gifted at doing it in a way that it's like, you don't feel bad for her, you feel happy for her because she's such an underdog that always keeps rising. But what I love for her is she knows how to ask for help. And that's the thing. The thing is, I want everyone to know, like, you can have pitfalls, you can have things, but she didn't lay in her bed and be by herself and just do the worst thing, which is cut off the world. Instead, she reaches out and asks for help. And one of the reasons why she became one of my most favorite people on the planet is because she went through a loss. And a year later, when it was the anniversary of the loss, she was brokenhearted and she didn't have anyone on either side of the family that even understood what she was going through. And she reached out and asked for help. And I actually invited her to Maui to just change her environment, change her way of thinking, and she transformed on that trip. And she took care of herself. And I think entrepreneurs, sometimes we don't take that time. We don't ask for help. We think we can do it. We don't want to show we're weak. She showed her weakness. She rose above it. She was resilient and she shared all of it in a transparent and loving way. But she wasn't like needy. She was definitely take care of herself, but she knew how to just connect at that level. And I think everyone can learn from her. I've learned from her. You know, she thinks I mentor her, but she mentors me too. So I'm glad that you had that connection. I'm glad that she deepened our connection because that's what happens. It's like you went 5 rungs up my ladder, just knowing that she cared enough about you to make sure we were connected. And I'm so grateful for her every day. 100%. She's family to me. And actually my daughter, who's a freshman, now a sophomore in college, she's one of her aunties. She's known her since high school. They've gone on little adventures together. I was in San Diego and they went to the beach and did one thing. And I was actually at Flight Club and they've had their own experiences, their own phone calls, their own Zooms, whatever. And I'm just grateful for her for every minute that she gives my daughter, because my daughter feels like she's in the cool kids club when she gets to hang out with Amber. And I think I go up 5 rungs on my daughter's list when she's like, Mom, you could have a friend like that, you know? So anyone has an Amber in their group, right? The person with that it factor who just makes you feel so important. And I think one of the things that's really a nice thing for us to learn right now is to take that trait of, you know, what makes somebody interesting? Well, be interested. And that's what she purveys every day. She displays that in her life in spades. She's interested. And I think all of us can learn from that and really, really be in it even more. You know, we've done it, you and I, even before this interview started. We're just interested in each other. So I'm glad we're connected. And
me too.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, girl. Thank you, Amber. Yeah, there's so much. And we talk about entrepreneurs. A lot of us don't reach out when times get tough. And that was one of the big pivots I did with this show, is talking to the entrepreneurs, like figuring out maybe you're pushing too hard and stressing yourself out, burnout, you know, what's your enough? And I don't know if that's the perfect thing, but it's definitely knowing what is it for you. Everyone has different levels that they want to go for. I mean, I have a little one and hopefully another one soon is the plan, but like, we'll see. Yeah. Is, you know, I love family. That's great. Yeah. And I love that. But also I have this innate thing to help entrepreneurs because I've been through dark days and losses, lost my dad to suicide. That's how Amber and I connected.
Right.
Well, not connected, but shared, you know, really deeply there.
Because you understand each other at a level that only someone who's gone through that with a true loved one could have the same questions or the same answers or the same discoveries, or want to know, what is your discovery? Could you help me? Because you understand me, you get me, you see me. And that's how it is in life with so many things, right? Who's the mentor that can shorten my learning curve? Who's actually on the other side of it? One of the things you and I talked about earlier is one of the things that Dan Sullivan says is every time there's technology and there's a person who needs to use it, putting someone in the middle who already knows it as the guide will help it be successful. Well, it's the same in life, right? Yeah. If somebody else has gone through it, if they've gone through getting married or going through a divorce or having a baby, all of a sudden their experience is more relevant, And so I'm glad you could find each other, because being in the land of the living is something to be celebrated every day.
No kidding.
And for us to remember their memory allows them to be in our land with us and allows their memory to live on. And their choices are their choices. And I've had people in my life who've made those choices. And sometimes they don't understand their wake behind because they're in pain of their own. But I don't think they mean to leave a wake of anything other than love. If they could say, all I want to do is leave love, I think a lot of them would. So in this case with Amber, we know that's the case. And once she was open to receive that, it shifted her life. I think one of the things we were talking about last night in a meeting in lunch or in dinner in Berkeley was we're on this planet for two reasons. And one is to love and the other is to be loved.
Amen.
And so if everything you do is like, hey, is this taking me closer to love? That's the question. Is this taking me closer to love? Yesterday, I shared a meme with my daughter that said, every time you speak to me, make sure that it's with love. And I said, hey, can we make this our rule with each other? Even though we really are doing that already, but she's 18 and a half, almost 19. It could shift at any moment. And I know that I have that boundary, like, hey, let's just always come to our conversations with love. We're going to always have better conversations. Or I could refer back to that meme and say, do you remember
this was our agreement? Yeah.
This is our agreement, damn it.
I love it.
So I think what we're doing is showing no matter how complicated the world is, how wild Web3 is going to be, the metaverse, all of it, it still comes down to that connection and that feeling of love. It's every day. Make that the driver and you're going to have so much more fun.
Well, that's you in a nutshell. And you were telling me a couple times, you're where technology meets humanity. And we're talking about that with Web3. We've heard a lot about the metaverse, NFTs, and all the tech that really got popular big time last year, still around. Like you said, technology is not going backwards. And
when technology advances, it doesn't go backwards. We were laughing. We're like, in my TED Talk, I mentioned, if you had the remote control, guess what? You're not getting up to turn the channel anymore. But I do remember the days where we had to get up and turn the channel. And then all of a sudden, the days I was fighting with my brother over the remote control, like that was a real thing. It was technology advances. And now it was so important. One of us wanted it, right? And that was the biggest fight we had, is who's getting the remote control, because that's who has control of the TV. So the technology, when it advanced, we never went back and fought for the channel. We always fought for the remote. It's the same, cars and horse and buggy, like every time it goes forward. And what I'm seeing with blockchain, Web3, the metaverse, there's a lot of action going on. One company called Roblox, ROBLOX. Are you familiar? So there's been over 12,000 billion hours utilized and played on Roblox, 12,000 billion. Someone told me the other day that if you type that out, it's 39 pages of typed out zeros, right? And AI probably taught them that, right? How many zeros are on? Yeah, exactly. Is it double spaced and all of that? Is it? Anyway, the thing about it is a lot of people 40 and over, I'm in these meetings with very, very important and smart people. And I'll ask them if they know about Roblox. And a lot of times, maybe one, if not two, only in the group will know it. Everyone else, it's a foreign word. I pulled up Amazon and we looked up what's the most trending product on Amazon that day. And it was gift cards to Roblox. Gosh. I'm like, oh, maybe it's school graduations and the kids are asking for it, or birthdays. But all of a sudden, Roblox gift cards are the big rage on Amazon. But people over 40 don't know this. A lot of them don't. And I'm like, there's a chasm between who knows what's going on and who doesn't, and where's our future going? Because if 12,000 billion hours have been played on Roblox, I think that's a trend.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
And if only people 20 and under really are participating in that trend, that's not a trend for everyone. And I'd like to see it be a trend for everybody. I really would like all of it. So I started telling my friends, ask your kids if they're playing Roblox. They started asking their kids. The kids are like, yeah, I'm on there every day and I'm doing this and this. And even friends that were like, oh, I have my Starbucks account on there. So what happened happened was I started asking them, have family dinners and talk about, number one, ask them to take you on Roblox and
That's
show
the
you
best
around,
way.
right?
Yep.
Number one, have them show you around, have them guide you, show you what's in there. Maybe have a contest, play a game. Maybe have family dinners for 5 or 10 minutes, have a conversation around what did you do? If they're going to do it anyway, make it important, be part of the conversation, be interested. Yes. Now you have a two-way dialogue instead of them leaving you out of it. Be part of it, be curious. But this is where they are right now. You know, my daughter's playing Fortnite. They're doing different things. We see it. They love talking to each other
Very
about
connected.
it.
Yeah.
Bring the parents, bring the grandparents, like, let's do it together. So that's what I'd like to see in this trend, is that humanity and technology, and we all go together, not just the savvy, cool ones that are 18 and younger.
or super
right?
savvy in
the do it without us.
Yeah, you're right. And I know in the Web3 space, at least last year when we were talking about it, we were deep into the metaverse and gaming space. That's kind of where we focus the most. Talked with folks like Justin Kahn from Twitch, but who has Fractal now and everything over there. Brilliant minds, him and David over there that had that company. And they were just opening our minds to so many different things in metaverse applications. There is a chasm there, and you had to be super techie to be in Web3 and understand NFTs and what tokens are and how to secure your stuff and blah, blah, blah. And
it's a whole new language, right? It's a new Latin being born, right, in our way. And it's the people who are like the medical doctors, everything's Latin root. They get it.
That's true.
They see it differently because it's relevant to them. So now how do we make it relevant to us that we go together? Like when I look at our NFT news every week, there's so much, like you're saying, lingo and words to know and different blockchains and different coins. And well, that's why you jump in now, so that you understand the lingo. And this is back at, you know, everyone says .com era, the first people who got there, who bought the single words, they cashed out for multi-millions because they saw the trend and they ran and jumped in front of it. Well, here, the trend is still small, 1 to 5%. We can still jump in front of it. We can still be part of it. We can still be part of how it's designed, how the language is used, but you have to understand it. So you can't win if you don't play. Yeah. So get in the game.
Well, and that hasn't gone away. And we'll talk about that, but I also want to introduce AI, because you're deep in all of this stuff, and it fascinates me with how many, I don't know how many hands you have to have them going or plates you're spinning.
It's collaborators.
Bingo.
It's, you know, Roland Frazier.
Roland's a good friend. He's awesome.
He taught me years ago at the Wizard Academy in Austin, Texas. And Alex Mendozian was there and he hosted it. And Joe Polish and Ryan Dice was there. And all of us were just talking about what does the future hold? And so many people wanted to be that leader and what they called the dancing bear, get to that lead and be up there. But a lot of times I was seeing, as soon as they arrived as their dancing bear, the one in charge, the one on stage, they fulfilled their mission and they wanted next level. What's next? So I prepared for my husband, Dr. Lee Richter. He was doing it in the veterinary hospitals, and I knew he'd want to go to thought leadership and have books done. And so over the last 5-6 years, we've been doing that. And now he wants to graduate into a whole nother way of technology and entrepreneurship in the pet industry. It's just natural progression. He became the dancing bear of his world, and he was ready for the next. So I learned by watching Roland Frazier to start planning, what's my next, what's the next, and what's the legacy, and what is the purpose, and what makes me feel like I'm connected and energized. And it is the technology meets humanity piece. It keeps coming up over and over and over. And I love marketing. So to me, the technology a lot of times is like a cherry on top in marketing.
Yeah, I like that.
So when I'm doing NFTs, which I'm still doing a lot of NFT campaigns, global amazing campaigns with amazing partners that I can't wait to share more with. But when I'm doing that, I'm watching a lot of times the NFTs, the cherry on top, but it's really valuable over the legacy of what I'm creating and what's created, right? Because now it can go past my daughter's lifetime. It could go 200-300 years in the future and be proven and be reliable, you know? So there's things about it. It's almost like creating your own little vault.
It is.
And one of the things I see is now I can create the vault. Which things do I need personally? Which business? And if I pass away, how do I have a vault that I could pass to my daughter that's just for her? That every year I'm putting videos in or adding things. Now it's her vault. So that's actually where the patent writing came in. It's because I started imagining the world of what it would be like as she was applying to college. What would it be like if her resume and her CV and everything was already in a vault that she could just turn over to the college? So we created that for her. We created NFTs with her graduate certificate from high school. I created NFTs with graduate certificates from Wharton School of Business classes and things that I did at Harvard and MIT and Stanford. Each one of them, we did even blockchain, NFTs, all those those courses, we then had the certificates done as an NFT, and it's in my portfolio.
Wow.
So anyone can go and it's verified that I finished those courses, and it's on the blockchain for life that I did the work and it's done, right? And actually, I will tell you, it was extremely valuable, not only for me to do it, but for other people looking me up.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the projects that I'm working on happens to be an NFT project. It's called keys-to-the-Vatican.com. And one of the things they did when they looked me up was they could see the verifiable of my blockchain NFT and all of the work that had already been done. They could see the things that were issued by Wharton. They could validate all of that. So when they did a background check on me, the things they needed to check the boxes,
just look at the record. Yeah. It's all in the database. Yeah.
And it's provable. I don't even have to tell them or anything. When I'm hiring people, it makes it so much easier for me. UC San Diego, where you are right now, is one of the first to announce that they are doing what's called a POAP, proof of attendance protocol, to publish their diploma. So now you can't copy it or lie about it. I would only send you the link to verify.
POAPs are so interesting. When I first learned of them, I mean, just think about TED Talks, like you could have that verified. Boom. Okay. Like you can have all these different events that you might have spoken at that maybe you even forgot about, or someone attending, you can say, okay, I was there.
But not just that, your podcast, you can sell rights to it. Somebody can own it and reproduce it and use it for them. And you can do it for one-time use. You could do it for a month. You could do it for a year. You could do it indefinitely. I do love the proof of attendance protocols for internet marketers that have their campaigns, because then as I'm going through yours or Ryan Levesque or JJ Virgin or whomever, once I get that proof of attendance and I put it in my gallery, people could see that I've done the work with you, but also it validates that the work with you is worth it if I'm there again. And I'm with Jeff Walker since 2015. If I'm there every single year, 3 times a year, and I'm flying to Durango, which is not easy to do, there's got to be a reason, right? But then all of a sudden you look and you see other people that are doing it, and you're like, wow, the CEO and founder of Hay House did it for many, many years. And Ryan Levesque, and you're like, wow, Stu McLaren. Now all of a sudden everyone wants to be in the group, to be in that cool kids club, right? I never leave the group because it is the coolest kids club in so many ways. But it's people from Portugal, it's people from Spain, from France, from Australia. And now you have a global mix of internet marketers. One thing 6 months early can make a huge difference. If someone in Portugal says, hey, I'm doing this and it's great, and I try it out and no one else knows it, I can have a 6-month runway before anyone else. Now that relationship, asking for help, all those things come in collaborating. And now we can multiply it. And now we can even multiply it in Web3 together, because all of us are joining in the first time together. And so I'm seeing it. There's someone in our group named Michael Walker, who is an artist in a band. And now he's doing a Web3, how to create your audience in music. And he's multiplied by being in here with all these internet marketers around the world. And he has all these mentors. But then him adding the Web3 component is so interesting to everyone else. So they're learning. And so it creates this automatic, we're learning together. We're supporting each other. We all want to see Michael Walker win. So we're all going to get in there.
Everybody's going to lift him.
They'll learn from it, right?
And collaboration. I mean, this is where it always fascinates me with when I first heard your name getting passed around. It was probably someone at Flight Club and other friends, but it's collaboration. And we can do it so easily. Web3, Discord, online like this. We sometimes forget to do the in-person thing, because that I know is the goal. But tell me about how you work that. I mean, you're having dinners often. You're going to Flight Club. It's in San Diego. Got to travel for that. But that's the glue, I feel like, for everything, right? Maybe that's the humanities side that you were speaking of, the technology.
Well, I love in the Jeff Walker group and Joe Polish, they have made it now that it's a hybrid. Some people in Australia couldn't travel and stuff. So they made it so you could be online or in person. And there is a definite difference in person. Now, in the Jeff Walker one, we have it 3 times a year. Every single time I've been there since I joined, except one meeting. And the one meeting was Durango last year. And it just was, I was in Bermuda. It was too hard for me to get there. It was during COVID. That's the only meeting I missed. And I had FOMO the whole time. I was on with a couple of my friends who are also on Zoom, and we're like, oh, we miss being in the room. And that meeting taught me a lot. That meeting taught me we're there for business, but we're really there for our human connection and our human, experience together. And we're there for business, but it's the personal stuff that means the most. It is. And he has learned how to give us space and a free day and a play day together. He's learned how to really make it so it feels like a close-knit family. But even if we're not thinking the same, we're enhancing our thinking together. And there's no stinking thinking in there. There's no one in there with victim mindset or this can't work. Everyone in there is coming with bright ideas to share. And it is really, really valuable. And it is the connection. Just like
and that's where it was a realizing point for me. It was like, oh, I'm the connector and the co-creator, and it's kind of like the glue in the middle. And a lot of us, I know a lot of people have reached out to me after I've started to talk about that. They're like, that's actually interesting. I find myself that way too, or I've struggled to do something alone, try to build it all myself. It's like, this is not the age for the lone soldier, the lone entrepreneur. I feel like it's kind of dangerous, and a lot of times, like you said, ask for help. But that's why it's enlightening, and it's refreshing, I guess, to hear that from you, because that's everything that you are.
Oh my goodness. The other thing though is I went through a near fatal car accident just 20 years ago. It was just the anniversary, and it was almost a year before I can walk, and I only had a 7% chance even to survive it, never mind walk again. And what I learned in that year is, as I was down and out, as I was in the hospital, I couldn't walk, I was in a wheelchair. I mean, I could not believe the amount of people that rose to be there, and how many people, like people I never imagined coming to see me in the hospital, but they would come like every week just to push me in my wheelchair. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And a friend of mine who's a PhD at Berkeley, in the middle, she was there a Sunday when so many people were coming. They would actually bring meals for my nurses and have like little buffets that they take care of the nurses. Like, it was just a really special experience because I was there so long that we actually had momentum and spending time there.
Basically.
Very unlikely, but we learned a lot of things. And number one, I learned to always send orchids, not flowers,
they last longer,
because flowers die, but the orchids last forever. And then they can give it to the nurse when they leave, and then it just moves on. And it's so much nicer. Like, I never thought of it until someone sent me an orchid, and I'm like, that was very smart. Yeah, because feng shui says dying flowers is not good energy. So as soon as they started dying, I wanted them out, but I had 2 broken legs, so I couldn't do it myself. And it was like something I'd have to ask people for help for. And it was the wrong thing to ask for help. The help I needed was for me personally, not the flowers, right? So here, the person who sent it didn't mean it to be anything other than goodness. And that's where I learned the orchid is perfect, which by the way, I have an orchid in front of me right now.
Yeah, I'm swiping that.
Yeah, it's such a smart thing because they last 4 or 6 weeks. And so I didn't have to tend to it, and I still had beautiful flowers, right? So I learned things by being in that experience. But what happened was, this woman who's a PhD out of Berkeley, she came to me and she said, I see all these amazing people supporting you, and I know they're great friends. Some of them were people at Stanford I worked with, and they would come up 30 miles to see me. She goes, I just want to let you know, as soon as you get out of the hospital, they're going to go and get back to their lives, and they're going to maybe find someone else to help, but they won't be there the same for you, and don't take it personally. I'm like, I never thought of it, but it was something I learned in that experience. She was exactly right. It was like almost being dropped like a hot potato. Oh, she's home now. She's okay. See ya. And I'm like, wait, I need you more than ever. I'm so lonely and I need help and I can't even walk yet. So I was glad I had people who even showed me the sides that I couldn't imagine, and even had the hard conversations like, hey, I'm just going to let you know this happens, but don't take it personally. And that helped me to not take it personally. And that helped me to just be like, yeah, they're back in their lives. That's what they're supposed to do, and just let go of it. So I think people mentoring me and saying, this is what's next, and that's what we're saying with humanity and technology, is you always need that guide of, hey, here's what's next. And I'm learning in AI. I have a secret weapon. His name is Lior. And Lior is in my group with Dan Sullivan. And he sends us like what to pay attention to and how to get on secret lists. But he's been doing it for a long time, way before this year. And so I've learned like to tap in and pay attention to those people. Like, that's their mission, is to share that curated piece of let me help you on your journey. And when you get those people, celebrate them, applaud them, bring them lunch, take them to dinner, whatever you have to do, keep them energized to keep doing that, because they're in their genius. And if they're sharing it with you, enjoy that genius. And you're only going to have it if you're grateful for it and you give feedback and you write in the WhatsApp group, hey, this made my day. Thank you. Keep doing that. And that's that connection, helping other people feel important, being interested. Even with Lior, sometimes they'll say, hey, why do you like this one over this one? Right. And
get them thinking a little further.
But from him, I learned there's a tool out there that I love called futuretools.io, right? Futuretools.io. And it has over 600 AI applications, and it even gives you a little blurb of why to pay attention to it. Fier gave me that all the way last year. Like I knew that so long ago. I was already going through it. So when people were bringing up all these new things, I was like, Lior, I'm so grateful you like shortened my learning curve. But then also I could be part of the conversation of, oh, well, Dolly's nice here, but here's where you want to use this, and be able to give examples because of
That's a great tool. It is also my previous business partner, Matt Wolf's website and tools. So he was my old co-host to this show. So it's it's awesome. Like, yeah. No, seriously, it's an amazing tool. I shout it out all the time. And you're right. It's a tool that I just had him on the podcast, so we're still buddies and connect. He lives down.
I'd love it. Well, tell him, like, I will. Everyone's paying attention.
He knows it. Yeah, he's down the street from me. So like it's.
I'd like to meet him someday. We'll have to have a beer.
Let's do it. Yeah, because with all the AI stuff you're doing, he's tapped in. I mean, he's focused on the be the creator and give the news, and he is that resourceful kind of guy for me too. So it's like, yes, it's and not a mini.
It's a good place to be. Ariana Huffington, that's how she started.
Yeah, tell the news.
It's being a curator and giving people what they want and more of what they want more of. Really, that's all true. She did.
But I was thinking about AI, and you brought up AI too. I mean, your hands are in there. That's like the hottest thing, but you're wrapping that now with blockchain. So tell me how you're introducing this to folks and the folks you work with that might not fully grasp it, in terms of the, the ownership side of blockchain and that technology metaverse, but also with AI. So I feel like you are that connector, that glue that brings a lot of these ideas to life.
Yeah. So we were talking earlier, and what I was saying is I came into Web3 mostly because I did have my first Bitcoin in 2015. I got my first Ethereum in 2016, and those things got my feet wet. And it was Peter Diamante's. He gave us all one Bitcoin. So it forced us to open a wallet. It's like $296 back then. Wasn't a big deal. I happened to win. They pulled a raffle, and they called my name, and I could go on stage and pick a prize. And Peter looked at me and he's like, you could have this robot. You could have this. There's like all these beautiful pieces. I think it was even the Google Glass at the time or something. And he said, or you can have this Bitcoin. And I'm going to tell you, only take the Bitcoin. And like he knew, like this is the beginning of something. And those might look like nice, bright, shiny objects. And you might want them for your daughter, but none of them are going to be more valuable than this Bitcoin. So he clued me in 2015, started paying attention. 2016, he brought a team from Ethereum, the CEO in, and it was $2.16 a share. And people next to me were buying hundreds of thousands of shares, of which they still have. And to them, basically blockchain has been very good to them, right? Because it's all in the timing when you get in and what you choose to participate. The number one thing is you have to do your due diligence, and can you trust the platform, right? I mentioned Roblox earlier. When there's 12,000 billion hours on it, and you see Starbucks and you see, big brands in there like Gucci and Gucci Town, you could trust it, right? It's a place that's for right now, a place to be. That's where you have to be in Web3 and blockchain. Is your first due diligence is, can you trust this? Do you know, like, and trust them, right? So one of the things I did was I went out and I submitted for a patent for the decision tree for the verification, basically the blue check of metaverse, the blue check of NFT campaign or a blockchain campaign. So what happens is the verification of this person is true and this platform is true, and now you can enter. And the reason I did that is because we're working on this Keys to the Vatican program. And one of the things we wanted to do is make sure we make a safe and secure environment, a secure community. We're bringing people in to share art and history and architecture. And we want to make sure that it's a match and it's not bots coming in or fake people. And so that's the reason why I had submitted this group of patents. That one's already been approved. And it really is for the verification point of, is this person someone I can trust to come in the community? Because I want to make sure the community is safe and other like-minded people that are interested in the arts and the reasons to be there are there together. So it's going to be fun. Like what it's done is it's spiked a lot of innovation, right? I actually did win top 100 innovators in an award in San Francisco last year. And I think that's one of my favorite awards ever, is because they're seeing us for innovation. And part of it is for even the project with the Vatican, is because the Vatican has always been last to adopt technology. technology. And in this case, they're one of the first jumping in to want to be part of blockchain and NFTs. Now, they consulted with us over a year ago. It's taken a long time just to get all of the IP protected and patents filed, and even getting all of the approvals from the Vatican to use certain pieces of art, because we have Da Vinci's and Michelangelo's, and I'm like, real amazing things that we're releasing to the public. But also we have some surprises coming with some access to the Vatican and some things that have never been done before. And so we really needed to work with partners who understood the value of it, right? Recently, eBay just did a beautiful launch with Warren Buffett to raise money for charity. And we learned a lot by watching that entire sequence, right? We didn't have to completely do it from scratch because we can work with a team that already did the exact same thing with Warren Buffett. He wanted to give something of value to Glide is the name of the charity that he was helping through eBay. But eBay wanted to do something impactful. And I don't know if you noticed, but just about a month ago, just over a month ago, the last auction for that went, and it was lunch with Warren Buffett, and it sold for $19 million on eBay.
Gosh. It's a good platform to do it.
And I thought about it. So many people are like, how could that be worth $19 million? I'm like, well, if you're $1 billion account, one lunch with Warren Buffett might add another billion to your like it might just multiply something you never saw. So to someone, it was so valuable. They didn't want anyone else to get it, that they were willing to throw down at that level, right? We're doing the same thing basically with access to the Vatican and for art and different things that, and we get to help people in need. And the charitable piece of the Vatican is helping people in need around the world. And right now they have people showing up from the Ukraine war on their front doorstep every day. They have people showing up that need help even from the earthquake that happened in Turkey, and kids in the Congo who are orphans that need families. They're absolutely involved with these different organizations. And we're seeing like, how can we use the art and the history and the momentum to raise money to help people in need right now? Like, how do you take from the past to put in the future, which is the metaverse? And then help people right now. How do we do that? So that's what we're crafting. And it's been so much fun to put the Web3 people together with the Web2 people, with the Catholic Church and the Vatican. And then on top of it, thinking metaverse.
You're just like, whoa.
Thinking AI. I'll give you an example of AI in art. I was just in Tampa, and they have an AI exhibit in the Salvador Dali Museum. There's probably going to be a huge run there, because as soon as you experience this, you're like, aha, I get it. In Salvador Dali right now, they have two sides. They have up on the top floor, they have one side where you can do a VR experience with the goggles, which was interesting and nice. But on the other side, they have an AI experience. It's phenomenal. I did it like 3 times. No, what happens is they bring in 6 people or 8 people at a time, and they put them at kiosks. It might be 9, three threes, right? So you get one kiosk and there's 3 others. Everyone puts in their prompt engineering prompts. So I might put in, I want a picture of my husband playing guitar in Italy. Oh, wait, we're in Venice in a gondola. Now, somebody else might write, I'm having a picnic in Sedona with my dog, my cat, and my family. Somebody else might write, I'm in whatever it is. I'm on horseback in the middle of the desert and looking for water. Everyone puts in their prompts, and then it creates a tapestry up on the wall. And one of it is mine. I'll see mine and I'll know it. But then it's a tapestry of them all together. It's amazing. And AI does it as if Salvador Dali did it.
It's brilliant.
So it's done in Salvador Dali style. So I have pictures of it. I have mine. It does email to me, mine and the whole group.
That's so smart.
But I don't see their prompts. So I learned when I went the second and third time is to ask people while it's being made, what was your prompt? What was your prompt? So when I saw it, I could see, and it really made more sense to me when I knew their prompt. So I think that's the only thing missing is you don't get the prompts, and they should do that. But the prompt writing actually is the most important part of AI, and that demonstrates it. And I could see it. I could see it was beautiful, but until I knew the prompts, I didn't know how
context.
Beautiful. But the AI was brilliant, and they used augmented reality in their presentations as well. They had another place where you could see the paintings, and then AR would come into play, and you'd see it differently. So Salvador Dali is one of the places that's great, and our partners with the Vatican is doing that same same experience for the Vatican art, but I did see it at Salvador Dali. And then it became real to me of all of the opportunities.
Oh my God. And that's a real world application of, real life. It's like Mid-Journey in a way. I'm sure it's using things like that with other, with custom prompts but displayed in front of you for the masses to try. And man, I've not seen that. Thank you for sharing, because we're going to see that.
And it was so instantaneous, like within a minute, all 6 of them are up there and we could see it. And we could see how different each of us were as people because we were together. See, so the in real life with it made it more relevant. Like if I just did it online, it'd be like, that's another picture. But by meeting the people, by standing in line, getting to know each other, and then doing the experience. And I had like 2 of my friends, so I could see theirs each time too. But when we went through the second and third time, each time became more relevant. And each time I could see the writing of the specific in the prompt. I could already tell, because this is 6 months ago, right? This is before the new year.
That was early.
And I could already see the importance of the prompt when I put in specifics. If I didn't say dog and I said German Shepherd, like it was a whole specific difference by being specific. And I learned that in prompt writing right now. Like I'm having a lot of fun. I'll do like a speech for something. And then I'll say, do this as if you're Michelle Obama. Do this as if you're Oprah. Do this as if you're for Oprah and see the difference, right? Not as, but for. Do it as if, you're an award-winning playwright.
Ooh, yep. Shakespeare.
Do it as if you're Shakespeare. Like, exactly.
I did. Yeah.
What's so funny is when you start getting a rhythm, but also you could do the same prompts the next day and see how different it is.
I love it.
And I was telling one of my team members today who's actually in AI and music, and I was explaining to him about Michael Walker and how he looks at Web 2 and how he does things. And what I was explaining to him is you can not only create the way, but then now you could bring 10 or 20 people with you, be the guide for them. And now you have your posse, you do it together and grow together, right? Like you don't have to do it alone.
Generative prompting and See, this is where the layers are going to get interesting. And we're going to bring in people together to co-create through AI. And you're starting to see it a little bit with the sharing features on ChatGPT. But I mean, it's so early days right now. You're right. With the prompts, I mean, it's endless, obviously. It's endless on the prompts. It's however your mind goes. But it's interesting to apply it to real world things that we can make better now. But we know it's just the tip of the iceberg. It keeps, ChatGPT 5, whenever that comes out, maybe months from now or so, it's infinitely more, smarter than the smartest person, which obviously I'm not the smartest, but
well, I've been in a couple WhatsApp groups with people who have the beta and they're like, it's mind blowing. Well, you saw it go from 3 to 4, but people that are working on futuristic products, what used to be like 2-fold in a year that we could do is now 10-fold already so easily. And our brains, I don't think can go.
I don't think so. I have a question for you. I guess with everything that you have here, maybe we can kind of wrap this up here so I know a lot of folks can be so worried about the future and how fast this is all going. Obviously, you can be optimistic. I feel like there is a time right now, time to market. We talked about that, I think, before the episode started. What are your thoughts? Like, we're all in entrepreneurs. A lot of us are co-creators. We know others. We're interested in creating in general. How do we look at this, and how would you position yourself? I mean, I know how you're doing, but how would you recommend others to kind of do it right now?
Well, find your group of people. Like one thing I like about Flight Club, there's about 5 or 6 people in there that are not only learning AI, but they're applying it and then doing a deep dive, debrief on what they learned and what worked. There was actually a group in one of my other WhatsApp groups where they brought 4 of their team members together and they said, what we would normally take a month to do a launch, we're going to take 1 day and launch it. They launched a program they never did before. They just made it up. And immediately they had a huge following. And I think it was less than 2 weeks later, they had a 7-figure offer from a company who actually needed that content. So it went from idea to test to fruition to a buyout in a really rapid time. But it was also relevant, right? And they curated. They didn't just make it up. They made it up and then they added their own spice to it. And I think that's what you have to think about. This is still the time of the creator. And last November, I spoke in Palm Beach. It was with the Dan Sullivan annual event, and Mike Koenigs and myself and a couple other people, we were talking about AI and how it was affecting our companies. And each one of them, Lior was there, actually, one of my favorite people who I'm really paying attention to because he's so into it. And what happened was when we were there, each one of them talked about the technology. And when it came to me, I talked about the people. And what I said is, I know a lot of people are just going to be afraid of it. And right now, one of the sayings that's going around, but we were saying it early last year, here is AI is not going to replace you, but people who know AI will replace you. Knowing your adaptability and being able to be curious and interested and asking for help and going in, finding, I don't know, they have meetup groups. Maybe they have meetup groups on how to play Roblox together. Find something. I know in the Bay Area, there's all kinds of tech things that come together. But I think if in your family, you have someone who's 17, 18, 19, 20, just ask them, what are they doing? Show me around. Be part of the Cool Kids Club. Let them know you're interested. They might have a blast showing you. And now you can learn together. Now, what happens is the senior people, what I'm learning with me is I give them relevancy they don't see on their own sometimes. I show, oh, this is why it's important in the world, or, oh, this is what you're learning from this. So what they can do is be the lens of why this is important to know this, or what's the skill you're getting from, or everyone's getting the dopamine hits. They can also say, hey, here's where you're being manipulated, just you know, because their parents and grandparents are going to know because it's obvious to us. Hey, you're in a dopamine cycle. Like when I look at Snapchat, my daughter has 2,500 straight J's of, chatting with someone and I'm like, that's a big waste of time, but you're still doing it. She's not going to lose that streak. It's important to her, right? And I'll support it when she does that funny picture and half her face. It's important to her. She's paying attention to it. It's important to her friends that they know that they're important to her. That's their way since 8th grade to be acknowledging, right? So we have to find out what's our way to be in that with
I like
them.
that. Yeah, it's kind of a crossover. How do we blend those?
I saw it with Jane Fonda during COVID. What she did, she started doing TikTok videos about what she thought was interesting with her granddaughters. And the reason she did is she wanted to get the message out and she wanted it with the youth. And she knew if she made herself relevant with them and fun, and it blossomed and went nuts. And all of a sudden the next generation knew who Jane Fonda was, who might not have. And it was just because she met them where they were, but she wanted them to pay attention to voting and having a voice and not going into depression and being isolated during COVID. And what was important to her, she wanted to get it out. So she went to the medium where they were, but asked to participate with them. And it worked. It worked. And I'm seeing it with the families that are having the Roblox conversation now. The parents are feeling like they're part of something. They're having conversations at dinner where before the kid just wants to be on the phone. Now the kid's like, look what I did today. What I got, what I earned, whatever happened.
And co-create together.
They're going to be on it anyway. You can't keep them off. It would be good to limit them because there is something about the addictive side of it that is tragic, and I'm not for it. It is hard to figure that out. It's something that you and your kids have to negotiate. Do not leave it to someone else. And I will say in Silicon Valley, a lot of the executives do not let their kids have smartphones.
I've read that and I believe it.
They might let them earn 30 minutes when they're home, when they're there, but they really don't want their brains polluted. Yeah. And there is something about the dopamine hits is paying attention to the wrong things. But you can help guide them to pay attention to the right things if you're part of the conversation. Because there's a lot of education. You can come to Keys in the Vatican and talk about art with us. And I hope more people and more leaders bring out things that actually add value and add to our next generation.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's a healthy way to look at it. It's a way to bring our kids up and show us or show them kind of our perspective and bring our other friends. And I see your brilliance in how you can be in so many different sectors, work with amazing brands, and it's co-creating. It's bringing the people together.
It's co-creating.
And it's not like you're 100%. The only one. Yeah.
And being relevant and leaving a legacy for my daughter. What's important to her? For me, putting things on blockchain, doing things that help the world look at things differently and have access. To me, when I look at the Vatican, is how do we all have access to something that not everyone has access to? Well, because of Web3, now we all can. And so it's kind of fun. And how can we use that access for good? And so with my daughter, I want to build a legacy of teaching her how to take that energy and do it for something meaningful, something good. What is it? Is it taking her closer to love?
Or is it, it's always that question.
And if it's taking her closer to love, I want her to do it all day long.
That's perfect. And I want to also give you the floor to shout out a couple of these things like the Vatican Project. I know you have the Global Leaders Collective, which is, it seems like a great entryway for people into Web3, AI, entrepreneurs of how to kind of navigate that. And I know some other stuff as well. So if you don't mind shouting those out.
Well, my main hub is goasklee.com. It's GOASKLEE, goasklee.com. So we put most everything there. The NFT course is there. We even did a happiness course years ago because we realized when we pay attention to happiness, we're more happy. And so we shared it with our team, and our team put it up online just to share. Nice. So what we do along the way way is just really mostly teach how to connect with others in a meaningful way. Sometimes it's through marketing. Sometimes it's through media and PR. Sometimes it's through Web3 and the metaverse. Sometimes it's through NFT campaigns with the Vatican. And so for me, the through line is always how do we connect and have something more meaningful? And these are just different tactics and different projects that I say yes to. I probably get asked for 1,000 projects per quarter, and I can only say yes to 2 or 3 things. And the other ones, I find a place for it. I find a team for it. I do my best, but I really want to do meaningful work right now. And so this makes me happy. Yeah. It just makes me happy. And being connected to people like Amber Spears and you and being able to multiply the good.
That's it.
Just makes me think.
And in entrepreneurs, I just read a stat recently. I just put an episode out about happiness and entrepreneurship. Is a lot of entrepreneurs, most of them are a lot less happy than employed folks for all of the stressors of running our own businesses.
Yeah. But people don't realize until the entrepreneur, just the stress of meeting payroll like I think about 25 years I've met payroll. I've always made every payroll, even through COVID. And what a feather in my cap that is. But there's times I'm like, where's payroll going to come from? And there's times where no one else has to think of it except for me. Not even my husband. He's in medicine, but he's not thinking about meeting payroll. He just knows I'm going to figure it out. And unless you're the entrepreneur, like when we had the unknown of COVID, that was really heavy because we didn't know how long we were going to be out. We didn't know if we were going to be open. Because I had veterinary hospitals, it was considered essential. And so my team worked. But what I watched is their happiness was higher because they were grateful to see each other because they had that connection. They were grateful because they were doing meaningful work and they felt essential. They started noticing how their mental health was so much better than other people in their sphere.
I bet.
And it was because they were relevant. It was because they were connecting and they started being more grateful to come to work and see each other. And it was really, but we didn't know how long that was going to last. There was always the unknown and they still have to eat. And there's still people we care about and we want them to come back to work. So then we're like, do we have to pay them? Like it was just so many unknowns, right? But it's only me who had to worry about it at that level, you know, and it can be hard to be the entrepreneur. I'm lucky I have other entrepreneurs to go to and say, what are you doing? And in my Dan Sullivan group, it's so much can-do attitude. Like Gino Wickman is in there and Joe Polish and Dean Jackson. And everyone was coming up with ideas. Oh, here's things we can do. Oh, here's a new company I launched. So I just rode that and kept bringing it back to my team. And there were people that gave a lot of information about mindset. And I kept realizing mindset is really the most important piece is what you're feeding your brain, right? They say what goes in, you know, garbage in, garbage out. No, in this case, garbage in, garbage stays. Yeah, that's what happens with the brain. So you have to be really careful what goes in. And I think paying attention to our mindset, choosing happiness is one of the clues on how we got through COVID.
Choosing it.
Really as a team, really, I can't believe how well we did it. It was like 18 months straight. We were even COVID free considering we saw clients until the second Christmas.
That's impressive.
How much was mindset though? Their mindset was they were happy to be there and they just would do everything to be safe.
And make sure they're there. Yeah. And relevant. There's a lot to it. Yeah. And habits I know are a big one, you know, healthy habits. So yeah, we can go on.
I know actually right here at Stanford is BJ Fogg who wrote Tiny Habits.
He's been on the show.
And I love that book. I love it. And actually I did instill a few new habits during COVID because I had the time, right?
BJ Fogg, he was on the show maybe 2 years ago and I connected with, I mean, he actually inspired me along with a few other daily habits I've been doing. I'm definitely starting to write a book now that's around.
You should have him back on too and talk about the after COVID, what are new habits? Because he might have some new things we didn't think about.
I'm sure.
I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I'll hit him up. Yeah, because he's a brilliant mind and I love the idea of just tiny little incremental things, but consistent, increase your happiness dramatically. And
100%.
Yeah, so.
And tie it to something you're already doing, and then it's not a new habit. It's just an add-on. Almost stacking. So smart.
Yeah. All right, Lee, this has been fun. We're going to do it again. I want to meet up with you. I want to hang out. This sounds fun.
I know. And I'm going to be in San Diego this weekend. I mean, even if you could pop over for a little hello, you should.
I mean, hey, let's make it happen. I'm in. All right. That's what I got for you today. And remember, it's not all about living to work. It's all about working to live, if you need to do the work. But, you know, work can be fun and it should be fueling for your life. So if you enjoyed what you just heard, if you got some nuggets of wisdom that you want to share, or you're just noodling on right now, please go tell others. The way that people find this show and how you can help others get their aha moments is through word of mouth. So if it is telling your friend, telling your family, sending an email to your list, writing a review, or whatever it might be, everything helps. So thank you so much for listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast, and I will see you next time.